Hello people, it's me TFR Wilderness, welcome to my channel, and here is the first of this month's KTRT reviews. And this month I've got a figure from the Tobot V line, which is Young Toys' current Tobot series, which has been going on, well, it continues to roll on. I mean, I can't remember what episode they're up to now. They're into the 50s now, I think, or was it the late 40s? But anyway, in later episodes of Tobot V, the original trio of characters that was introduced at the beginning of the series, Rocket, Monster and Speed, in sort of these later episodes, they then combined together to form this gestalt called Master V. And in addition to Master V, they've introduced a series of 3 smaller bots, which then combine with Master V to make him, to power him up and make him an even bigger, more powerful bot. And these little combiner bots, they are Super Driller, which is like a little squat little yellow bot that forms like a really unusual looking drill tank, and he forms a pair of arms for Master V. And then there's this guy, and this is the subject of today's review. It is a Tobot V Powertrain. Now, before we get any further, let's have a quick look at the boxes. Now, here is his box, and it's a fairly typical Tobot box, but when you put it next to the box of the normal figures, you can see, yeah, it's kind of small. And also, the good thing about Tobot figures is they have the name in English on the box as well, so there's no ambiguity in the name, unlike Hello Carbot figures. So I can't mispronounce the name, so I'm not going to get any criticisms from Mr. KR Brickbot when I screw up the names of these Korean characters. So yeah, Powertrain, that's his name, and this is his box. It's a fairly typical Tobot box, but as you see, it's smaller than a normal box. I mean, this is Rocket's box, and as you can see, it's considerably smaller. And you get in the box, as well as the usual instructions, you also get this glossy pamphlet, which also comes with a sheet of stickers. And the glossy pamphlet, it just shows you where the various parts go where he integrates or combines with Master V, which is quite interesting. So you get those. And before I go any further, obviously, again, talking about the size of this character, let's do some size comparisons up front. So usually, my usual size comparison bot that I use is Combiner Wars Megatron. And as you can see, he's quite a bit smaller than Combiner Wars Megatron. And if you put him next to one of the original Tobot V figures, like Rocket here, as you can see, he's considerably smaller than Rocket. So that is basically the deal with this guy. I mean, he's one of these special bots that's been designed specifically to combine or integrate with Master V. And he's the second of these such bots, the first one being Super Driller. And the third one is a guy called Sonic Stealth, and he's basically this blue stealth bomber. He's only just come out. He hasn't actually appeared on eBay yet, but I'm planning on getting him because he's got a very unusual robot mode, very slim and slender, and he kind of looks like an Evangelion in his robot mode, so he looks kind of cool, and he's got a decent amount of articulation, so I'll probably be getting him soon as soon as he becomes available. But these guys, because they're smaller than a regular Tobot, they're slightly cheaper. They're about £10 cheaper. I mean, I paid about, was it £36 for this guy, but usually for the bigger ones you pay like 40, 45, 50 quid for the bigger ones, so it's a fair bit cheaper. Anyway, so I'm starting in his robot mode, and the main reason why I got this guy is quite simply because he's a train former. Now, I have an interest in trains. I have do since I'm a kid. I'm what some of you may or may not know, I'm also a member of a railway preservation society. I'm regular every 3 weeks. I go up north to East Lancs Railway, and I work on preserving some vintage diesel locomotives. But that's just me. I've got an interest in railways, and I do like train formers, transformers that form into trains. They're very unusual. They're very rare. I mean, usually you get like Astro Train, and he's a triple changer. He has like his steam engine mode, which is based on a Japanese, a vintage Japanese steam locomotive. Was it a D15 or D51 style locomotive? And then obviously he's got space shuttle mode and the robot mode. And then you get like the other G1 sort of train combiners. You had like 6 train, 6 liner. You also had Raiden, which was formed out of a bunch of Japanese trains. But these, generally when they do these train forms, they're based on, like this guy, they're based on modern, what I refer to as hyper trains, which is like these high speed trains that go from city to city on high speed routes. They're what I refer to as what's known as an electric multiple unit. They're electrically powered. They have like a cab car at either end, and they're not what I refer to as a proper train. A proper train is a locomotive pulling then coaches or carriages or wagons if it's a freight train. But anyway, getting off topic a little bit. We're talking about the robot mode here. I'm starting on the robot mode because this is how he comes in the box, and obviously you have to convert him to his train mode. And because he has an integration with Master V, he has a third mode, which basically turns into a pair of shoes for Master V. But we'll get to that eventually. So let's have a quick look at the robot mode. First thing is, he's very striking in these colours. He almost looks like the Aquafresh man. He's got these red, white and blue stripes going down. He looks like he's jumped out of an Aquafresh commercial. Pretty striking, cool looking robot mode. He's got a fairly cool head sculpt. It's sort of like I suppose like a conductor's hat or helmet. Like I said, nice colours. Articulation. Now he does have limited motion on the head. It's a bit loose, but it only goes, turns a couple of degrees one way or the other. There's a little notch in the back which stops it turning all the way around, but if you force it, you can get it to turn all the way around. But it's only designed to go a little bit, and the reason being because when you transform it to train mode, it has to fold down into the train form a particular way because it's a very close fit. That's the reason why that's limited. Now, if you look at his robot mode, he's got the pantographs on top of his shoulders. Now, obviously, this guy has some issues, especially in his upper arms. You look at his arms; he's got some very unusual joints going on. I mean, his elbow is like up by his shoulder, which is really weird, and his fist is made out of this chunk of train which just folds inwards. It has got sort of like, it's kind of got like a thumb moulded there and sort of like knuckles moulded in there, but when you look at it from the front, it doesn't actually look like a fist so much. And yeah, articulation, obviously the head moves, the shoulder goes round, the shoulder moves up on a joint there, you've got another joint there, no bicep swivel, he's only got the elbow which does that, and the fist which just goes in and out like that. So he's got unusual joints, unusual proportions and joints on his arms, and limited articulation due to the nature of the engineering and the alt mode. But apart from that, his upper torso is okay. Moving down to his legs, obviously the leg goes back and forwards like that. He can go over 180 degree split. He has got 5 swivels, which is good, but then again that's part of the transformation engineering. Good solid 90 degree knee bend, and he's got transformation joint on his foot that gives him a little toe flex. So yeah, and articulation wise, a bit restricted, especially in the arms, but he's a decent looking bot. He's got a decent weight. He holds together reasonably well. And it's the transformation on this that's, the transformation is very, very simple into his alt mode, but it's got some really clever bits in the way it works. So let's get on to transformation. Now, this guy sort of splits in half, like a zipper sort of thing. And you have the head is on like a hinged plate, which locks the two halves together. So you have to unlatch it. So you do that, and then it comes apart. But you can see it's got a couple of pegs on both sides, and you have the head is on this hinge bit. But when you plug it together, you then click that on, and it locks it solid so that it won't fall apart. And I really like that. That's a really clever little bit of engineering they've done there. Obviously you have to separate this guy and you split him in two. Now transformation's really simple. Fold out the foot. Now you have to twizzle everything round, right? You twizzle that round to there, fold that up, fold that up, fold that up. Then you bring that down to there, that round to there, and fold that up. So there's one half of his alt mode. Then you do the other half. Fold the head in now. The head fits into this little slot here, and you have to have it a certain way for it to fold in properly. So you straighten that up, fold that round, twizzle that round. And there's the other half of his train mode. Now, being a train, he has a little coupling that flicks out. And then you couple two halves of the train together. And there he is in his alt mode. There is powertrain in his alt mode. And as you can see, he transforms into a modern, high-speed passenger train. Or what I refer to as a hyper train, because like I said, these modern high-speed trains that zip from city to city. You've got the Shinkansen in Japan. You've got the TGV in France. You've got the ICE in Germany, and in the UK we've got like the Voyager and the Javelin and the Voyager, the Javelin, and the Pendolino that runs on the East Coast Main Line. Yeah, they're all these unit trains. They're basically a cab on the front, a cab on the back. You have the pantographs, which is like a device which collects the power from the overhead electric wires, like the catenary. So you got 25,000 volts AC that runs along a wire over the top, and it's 25,000 volts AC, which is the usual sort of voltage. Some other countries have different voltages. And then that powers up all the wheels along the train. Will probably have motors on, so it'll be powered all the way along. And it travels at very high speed, like hundreds of miles or kilometers an hour, as it zips from city to city. So that's the thing. Now, there's quite a few decent details on this train mode. Like I said, it's got a pantograph. You've got the front of the train, which is like a chiseled sort of pointy end, so it cuts through the air, streamlined. You've got all this window detail down the side. You've got these simulated sort of bogies or wheels or trucks, as they call them in America, for the various pivoting wheel sets along the train length. Same goes on this one. And it's a pretty cool looking train mode. Now, obviously, there's some engineering things on this toy that it has to be engineered a certain way for the toy to work. Now, there is a bit of a problem with this train mode. Trains have what's called a loading gauge, which is an imaginary line which goes around the outside of the train, which is like a clearance line, which when it's going down the track, it doesn't hit any overhead objects or line side objects when it's going along, and it clears platforms at stations. And unfortunately, this block here sticks outside the loading gauge. So if this was a real train and it was going along the track, this lump here would be hitting signal posts. It'd be hitting bridge parapets. It'd be gouging out the sides of station platforms. Now you can turn it and have it sort of facing up like that, so that then gives you like a clearance profile down the side of the train. But then you've got it sticking up above the train, and of course then you've got the catenary. I mean, that's so if that was simulating the overhead wire, you can see it would be clouting the overhead wire, and yeah, it'd be arcing out on the electrical wire over the top. So that would be yeah. It's a shame they didn't design this thing so that it folded. This block here folds into the actual profile of the train mode. That's a little thing that they sort of missed out on the design of this thing, but that's a thing. Now, also on this train mode, now he has simulated wheels down the side, but he also has these rollers, which means he does roll along extremely well, especially in train mode. And also he has pivots, because joints from the robot mode, so he can sort of pivot like a train going around a corner, so you can connecting back together as though he was going around a corner. So that's pretty cool. So, you know, you get the two halves of the train, they will couple together, and it gets this long, modern-looking express train, which is really cool. Now, he does have a third mode. So he does integrate with Master V to power him up, because he's named Powertrain. Basically, he's kind of like, well, I wouldn't say like a battery. He's got a lot of power inside him, and when he combines with Master V, he gives him a huge power up. You know, he increases his energy output, you know, considerably, and that's largely what his function is. So he does have this extra mode, even though I haven't got Master V, and I've got no intention of getting Master V, because he's what I refer to as a copolymer combiner. And I know I'm mispronouncing that name because it's spelled and pronounced differently, but I always say copolymer. And a copolymer combiner is where, you know, on combiners and transformers, the individual limbs have robot modes of their own, and Master V, the individual parts that make up Master V, they do transform from their vehicle modes and they do have robot modes of their own. But the toy, because of the way it's engineered, they engineered out the individual robot modes from the individual parts in order to make the engineering for the combiner work. So the individual parts of the combiner don't have these robot modes of their own. That's why it's referred to as a copolymer combiner. And I'm not a fan of copolymer combiners. You know, to me, combiners should have individual robot modes engineered into their toys for the limb modes, but that's just me. Anyway, so let's get to this guy. Right, so basically what you do that. You then get that, fold that like that. Fold in the coupling, and then there's a little peg here. And you fold that down, clip that in, and then you bring up that little piece there, and then Master V's foot will plug into there, clip into there, and that will form one of his boots. And then you do it to the other one as well. Fold that up, fold that back, clip that in, fold that away, and put up the little peg there, the combiner peg, and there we go. Well, there is Powertrain in his Master V combiner mode. This guy is very easy to work with, you know, to get him back to robot mode, it's dead easy. You know, he's really easy to work with. So yeah, you know, he's quite fun and easy to work with to get into his various modes. So he's a decent little toy, and like I said, he's smaller, but he is cheaper than other comparable, you know, Tobot or, you know, KTRT figures. So, you know, he's pretty good. He's pretty cool, and he's a train former, which are quite rare. You know, you don't get many train formers these days, and this is a half decent one, even though it does have, you know, some minor issues in terms of, you know, as being a train, you know, like the hip chunks, you know, sticking out unnecessarily. And so yeah, he does have a few issues. I mean, another issue he has, he's got the moulded couplers on the front of his feet for the various train modes. They should couple together, but they're out of alignment. They you know, it's like an angular sort of thing, but they've done them symmetrical on the 2 feet, so when it goes to couple together, the coupling doesn't line up and stuff like that. You know, it's silly little things like that. But yeah, it's a decent little figure. It's all right. I don't regret buying it. It's pretty good. The episodes where, you know, Powertrain is in the show, he's seems to be quite a cool character. He's quite a, you know, he gets stuck in with the action, but usually he just turns into a pair of shoes and combines with Master V, because Master V's, you know, had a bit of a beat down and he needs to pick me up. So, you know, Powertrain turns up and integrates with him and gives him a jolt, a jump start, you know. And yeah, so that's basically all I can say about this. It's a decent little toy. It's quite fun to play with. Very nice colours in the robot mode, interesting alt mode. and he has that integration gimmick with Master V if you've got him. So yeah, that's been me, TFR Wilderness, doing my first KTRT review of the month. Just before I filmed this video, I had a delivery. My other KTRT arrived, so I'll be doing a review on that next week sometime, probably next Friday. So with that said, I've been TFR Wilderness. Hope you've enjoyed this video. I'll catch you all next time. Ta-da.